Hello, I think yeah, we're good to go. So, hello everyone. Good morning, good evening, sorry, to all of you in the room and who are watching us live on Facebook and YouTube. A very warm welcome. I'm sure a lot of people are going to join soon with us. So, just ladies and gentlemen, I would like to, start this program of conversation with a wonderful quote which says that because Pick a Book is all about reading. So I want to go through this wonderful quote which says that reading is important because if you can read, you can learn anything about everything and everything about anything. So that was a wonderful quote. So for with this, so therefore with this noble aim of igniting love and passion for reading, so we have an incredible initiative that is launched, which is called Pick a Book. And talking about Pick a Book, it's a global movement, envisioned to bring back that golden habit of reading by deepening the love for reading books and enhancing the long-lasting social interactions with like-minded people. And and especially this Why I Read segment is an initiative of Pick a Book to bring onto the show the iconic personalities, successful individuals, the leaders who are readers to share their successful journey and how reading has impacted them to be who they are today. So, be it their personal development or a professional growth ladder. Okay, talking a little more on why read. Why do we read? In the first place, why do one read? Why do Bill Gates read a book a week? Why Zuckerberg went on a personal mission to read 2 books a month? Why Elon Musk proudly says that he was raised by books? And our own Abdul Kalam considers his home library as his only greatest asset. Why? The answer is right in front of us. Readers are leaders. And with that, let's now invite our special guest for tonight, a man with a vision, happiness trainer, a reader, and the proudest of all, a teacher. Let's welcome Mr. Prabhat Pankaj, the director of Jaipura Institute of Management, with a huge round of applause. Yeah. Okay. Very warm welcome, Mr. Prabhat. So I will take this wonderful opportunity, to say more about you to our lovely audience here. So ladies and gentlemen, Dr. Prabhat is a gold medalist. He is a postgraduate in economics and PhD in applied economics. So he has been teaching economics at postgraduate, undergraduate level for about 30 years in the universities and the B schools in India and abroad, including 7 years in Bhutan. So Dr. Prabhat is an avid trainer and a resource person on effective teaching, teaching leadership, outcome-based education. And he is an international researcher on the subject of economics of happiness. He was an invitee in the World Government Summit 2019 Dubai by the Ministry of Happiness UAE. He writes in Times of India and Economic Times as well. So he is presently serving as the director of Jaipura Institute of Management, which is based out of Jaipur city in India. And Indian Institute of Management Ahmedabad has written a case study on Jaipura Institute of Management, Jaipur, which is focused on student engagement, which Dr. Prabhat has initiated at his college. So also he is a blogger, and if anyone wants to go through his blog, it was titled The Learning Corridor. So with that, let's move on to know more about himself and about his successful journey from his words. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen, we will be running live Q&A at the end of the webinar. So, we have enabled our Ask a Question feature, which is right there below your screens. So if you have any questions, just pop them in there, because chat box, there is a possibility that we miss out your questions if it is in the chat box. So use Q&A section. So that is where we will be taking your questions at the end of the session. So okay, so first of all, before we get into the conversation, I would like to know from Mr. Pankaj, so why do you read?
You answered this question. I mean, reading is for me. Reading is the lifeline, actually, because that separates human being with the other species. Reading is special characteristics of a human being. And I strongly believe that if you're not reading, your life is incomplete. So I read for the joy of reading. It's kind of self-fulfillment for me. That's number one. Number two, if I have to spell out why I read, is the kind of living life to the fullest, because you're not able to live life to the fullest if you don't know the world out there in the books, because these are the reservoir of knowledge that you need to look at. These are sensitivity you have to touch. That's very important for life satisfaction, life satisfaction. And third is, of course, the knowledge horizon, because you grow as a professional, and it shapes your mind, your thought. uh, right? So you rightly said the readers are the leaders, and
Yeah.
conversely, the leaders are the readers. So I was
Yeah.
just you were referring to many CEOs, top CEOs. So I was going through LinkedIn study, which asked the top 500 Fortune 500 CEOs about their reading habits. And they concluded that the top CEOs, they read 40 books on average in a year. That's amazing. So if you're reading 40 books in a year, and you're already a leader. So I mean, imagine the kind of information, the kind of knowledge that you will have, the kind of sensitivity you will grow with. So it makes you a leader if you start reading this. So it's a very simple pathway. If you really want to exceed, you have to read more. So that's how reading is very important for me as personally.
Absolutely, very well said. Because, yeah, like rightly said, we were discussing about leaders or readers, and almost, whoever I touched, the biographies of the great leaders, everybody turned out to be a reader, and not the single one, is there without the habit of reading. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's the importance of reading. So, if you want to see yourself at that age of your life, so start reading and no more excuses. Yeah. Okay. So, okay, if I would ask you, is there anyone who inspired you to get into this habit, or is it there in your home? The culture of reading is pretty much part of your home.
Yeah, so if you ask me how it all started, where from I picked up this reading habit, it goes to my early days. If I can recall a bit, I belong to a very modest family, and we didn't have much resources at hand. So when I was studying in graduation, so I realized soon that I have to fund my own education.
Okay.
So I started taking tuitions and earning few bucks here and there, and then I used to buy books from there, because these earnings were so valuable to me, because I have to put it back into the education. So I quickly understood the significance that this is the only way I have to move forward in life. So education became one of the main plank I had to invest everything into. So, and I realized that if I read more, then I'm able to teach more, and I teach more, then I learn more. So,
Yeah.
as a student, I quickly realized that, if you start acting like a teacher, then you become a good student. And when I became a teacher, then I quickly realized that if you start acting like a student, then you become a good teacher. So, the teacher in a student, the student in a teacher. So that's how I started my journey. That's one thing that prompted me to read more. Second was, my first job was in Arunachal University. I did my master's in economics, and immediately after that, there was a vacancy. So I was looking for a job, and I applied for it. And I was selected over many candidates, 30, 40 candidates who were PhD and more educated than me.
Okay.
And then I was selected as a lecturer for this university. So one day I was walking with my vice chancellor who selected me. I still remember Professor C.L. Anand, and I asked him this question: why did you selected me over other candidates who were PhD and others? I was just a fresher. So he told me that you demonstrated better reading ability. Actually, you were more read, than the others. So others were actually having more degrees, but you referred many more authors, many more books. So it looks like that you are the ready-made material for for teaching the class. So I was looking for a person who can teach the class rather than, having lots of degrees with them. So, an interesting thing that happened in Arunachal was that I was young, first job, right, bachelor. And likewise, many of my friends who joined from various places in Arunachal, right from JNU to other places, very good background, from different backgrounds like English, literature, political science, history, and we formed a very good group. Because we were very enthusiastic about ourselves. So we used to play cricket in the evening, and then we'll have outing together. Then we'll be dining together. We'll be preparing food together, and then we'll also sit down in the evening and talk a lot. So my English literature friend will talk about his subject, then the political science will give some other insight. Psychology friend was giving something different, insight. And mine was, I had a very peculiar habit of listening very properly to everybody, and I had this knack of grabbing and understanding little more of what people say. So what I used to do is that I would not understand even 60-70% of what they're saying, because they were from different subjects. Mine was economics. So what I used to do is that I used to remember all these things that they were saying. And then next day I will go to the library and start searching books around these themes, right? And I will start reading. So what happened because of that is, it gave me a very wider perspective. So I started learning history. I started learning political science. I would not have been able to do that if I would have confined only to my subject. Yeah. So I'm really thankful to my friends who enabled me a wider reading. So, your friends make you read, and your circumstances can make you read. But once you become a reader, then you yourself actually become the source of reading more. So I have a peculiar habit, Swarna. So if I may share with you, my habit is that whenever I read two books together. So I always take two books at a time, and I will read one book and then go back to the other book and then again come back to this book. I don't know. I mean, this is a very peculiar habit for me, but I do this.
That was interesting. Good. You have covered a lot of important points here, in a way, because yes, I mean, it is said that, you are average of 5 people you go around with. So, if you have the like-minded people who are readers, like, who read books and discuss books, so you obviously tend to pick up that habit. So that's one beautiful way of putting up or improvising your healthy habits. And you have touched some beautiful points there, and how reading has actually, has impacted your life, and also being a good listener, that is also very, very important quality one should develop, because as long as, and also like how you said, student in a teacher and teacher in a student, it's always that, the moment we stop learning, so it's like our growth stops there and then itself. So a lot of important points for our audience to take in there. Okay, so with that, I'll move on to my next question. So having known that, reading helped you to be where you are today in your professional front or the personal front. So what do you say for those parents, because it is equally even more important for the younger generation to build the right habit, especially the habit of reading, when it has got so many advantages. So there are a lot of parents out there who still says that, the traditional style of having put more focus on your on your academic books. They least encourage on reading a generalized book. So what is your advice to those people especially?
So, couple of things. So I also started as a teacher, also I started thinking on this line, these days when you look at the students who are coming to your college, they don't have reading habits.
Yeah.
And the faculty, they often will complain they are not reading. Parents will complain that no, children are not reading. So I was thinking around this question, and I tried out few things as an experiment, how it works, and then I have a very different take on this. I'll give you, if you allow me 2 minutes, I'll explain all this.
Yeah.
So one of the experiment I did was that I asked my faculty colleague to carry few books in his hand, which is not related to the subject in the classroom. And I said that don't talk about this book, just carry it and keep it on the table and start teaching whatever you want to teach. So let's do this experiment. So we did this experiment, and after a couple of weeks, he came back and reported to me that 3, 4 students came to him and asked him, what are these 3 books, 4 books you are carrying in your hand every day when you come to the class? Then he got this opportunity of explaining them what these books are. And they got very much interested, and they went to the library, picked up the book, and after 2, 3 months, these students came back to the professor and said that they have read this book and they liked the book. So, it's not a question of whether the students are not reading the book. It's a question of how much books are we showing to them. So, no, they are not around the books. So, in one of the experiments is that, if we keep the books in the classroom, if they are able to see, right? If we can make the students come to the library and see the books, if you can make the student go to the market and buy the books themselves, uh, so this is going to work. So we have this platform like hot coffee, hot issues, where we serve coffee to the students in the college, and the students will sit together and discuss about a book. We also have a cafe in which there is a book menu. We keep a book menu. So we say this is the book menu of the month. So there are 3 books picked up by the faculty, and a brief about this book will be provided in that menu. And these 3 books will be the focus of the college for the entire month. So that means that all the college, all the students, all the faculty members, everybody will focus on these 3 books, and they will start reading that. And at the end of the month, we'll all sit in the cafe, have coffee, and talk about these books. And then next month, again, the book menu will change. So you have to actually give the platform to our students. I'll tell you why. Because if you look at the composition of our students coming to the colleges, almost about half of them are coming from tier 2, tier 3 cities. And most of them, like 60, 70% of them, as per my little understanding and research, is they are the first generation learners. So first generation learners, there is a difference between first generation learner and the second generation.
Yeah.
Now the second generation learners are they have seen the practices of reading. They have books at home. Their parents are educated. There's a newspaper coming to the home every day. So there is a reading culture over there. But for the first generation learner, it's not there. So they have not seen enough reading practices back at home. So where from the children pick up at home is when the parents starts reading. So for example, I'll give you another example. So I have a son and a daughter, and they have their own library, made. They purchase book independently, and they read a lot. We never told them that reading is important, and reading is. All we do is that, because my wife also reads and I also read. All we do is to pick up book and read, and they see us reading. That's number one. Number two, we talk about books in the class, in the home, at home, sometime when all of us are sitting, and the children's actually they join if they have interest, and they will also put up their points, and they also talk about books. So no, it's all about what kind of practices are we showing to our youngsters and our children. They pick up from there, because they are all human beings. And human, one of the formula that works very well is they do what they see. If they have not seen enough, they will not do it. So our job is to show them what it is, what is the joy of reading, how it can be done, and they'll pick up. So we don't have to tell them to read all the time. If you keep on telling them to read all the time, they will not read. But if you show them how reading happens, they will pick it up. So that is my take.
Awesome. So that was wonderful. That's straight to the point. Yeah. So the experiment also shows that experiment actually clearly tells us that the more you share, because the moment we are showing it, some level of curiosity develops in them. What is that? What is that? That subconsciously maybe it's recorded in their minds that what is that book that is being carried on, the professor example you gave. So they could immediately recollect it when they go to the library, because they have been looking at it. So it's all about giving them. So ladies and gentlemen, So it is important that you create a culture around the younger generation, for them to develop that habit, the beautiful habits, whatever they important for them to have. So thank you so much for that, and that was so inspiring for us. um, okay. What is that current pick, the book you are reading?
I have picked up two books, and that's of my personal interest.
Yeah.
One is The Gut.
Okay.
It's by Payal Kothari. Mm,
Okay.
So, it's about health. This is the book I'm reading at the moment. This has
Okay.
come out in 2021. And there's another book which one of my colleague gifted to me, uh, and this is The Economics of Small Things. So, I'm reading these two by Sudipta Sarangi. So gut, I have gone almost like, half of it, but, I'm trying to mix it together and read.
So you
Yeah.
mix the biology, anatomy, and
It's
the
important.
economics.
It's important, Swarna, because we have to take care of our health. We also have to take care of our mind, our
Fine.
body,
True,
our
true,
soul.
true.
So it's very important here.
Yeah. So that's the beauty of books. The moment I, be a part of Pick a Book, that's the beauty I picked up from Pick a Book, because whatever the challenge we face, or whatever the mindset we are in at that point of time, or at that phase of life, so the books has it all. We just have to just pick a book and read, to get the entire knowledge, because somebody have done the total research on that and given in the form of a book. So we don't have to put those extra efforts to do it from the scratch. So any challenge we have, there are books for you, the solutions for you in front of you. So guys, that's the most easiest way to gain the knowledge. Once you have the knowledge in hand, I think, we just can't keep quiet. So we just love to spread the word. So that's how it happens. So thank you so much for that. Okay, and I read this beautiful quote somewhere, which says that the whole purpose of education is to turn mirrors into windows. A teacher and his way of thinking is very important in any educational system. So, what is your take on that? So, how important is the thoughts of or the kind of the mindset of a teacher?
It's very important. It all started from, when I started thinking about it. Uh, you know, I realized that, our faculty, they are very good in their own respective subject. They know physics, they know chemistry, they know mathematics, they know history, they know economics. But do they know how learning works? Do they know how students learn? Do they know this subtle point of, how knowledge can be transmitted to the students? Or is it that, I have just taken the class and my job is over? Or is it that I have taken class, but I'm also trying to see whether the students have really learned or not learned what I have. So there is something called, the science of learning that you have to understand. So even if you're good at management, you're good at economics, but you have to learn the science of learning. If you don't know the science of learning, then art and science of learning, of course, is a lot of art actually. Uh, and then you'll be failing in your purpose. So what we did here is that I selected about 20 odd books on teaching learning. So this is how I started. So I picked up interesting 20 teaching learning books, and I gifted one each to my faculty. I said, okay, fine. So this is the book for you. Read this book, and we'll meet after 1 or 2 months. And then we had a meeting where all the faculty members started presenting that book and the idea therein, and we discussed all these ideas together. And then we finalized that, yes, I mean, these are the 10 things or 5 things or 20 things that we can do to make our students learn better, right? And this is actually working very well for us, right? Because for example, one of the book was What the Best College Teachers Do by Ken Ben. If you look at this book, Ken Ben, consulted 100 teachers whom the students thought that they are the best teachers And then he asked some fundamental questions to them. How do you teach? How do you treat your student? How do you conduct your class? How do you prepare for the class? How do you assess your student? And then he actually wrote this book about. So if you read this book, it's so fantastic. It will change your entire perception towards teaching, right? So this is what is needed in all the colleges, and the faculty have to understand that. So bridging the gap between teaching and learning. Teaching does not necessarily mean that the student is learning, right? So books are important over here, right? Because unless you read all these books, which can make you a uh, better in the sense that you are able to transmit your knowledge to the student, and students are able to get your knowledge. Uh, there, the reading is very important, because unless you read uh, books on teaching learning, you cannot actually get on to the crux of the matter.
Yes.
Mm.
100 points on that, because yeah, like how we are discussing, it's all today, it's like we are completely involved, in the books. So all about talking books, and how you being a teacher, your entire, life is about books and teaching. So, so it more, how reading is, why reading is that important. So yeah, and you have, smartly invested on reading, and you have encouraged your teaching community as well, your teaching, your teachers around you as well, to gain all the knowledge from the books. So that is very, very, very important. And yeah, that has greatly helped for what you are today, and for the college, for the fame of college that is being today now. And I've learned that from your bio that IIM Ahmedabad has done a case study on the student engagement in this College of Jaipur Institute of Management. So that's a great achievement. Probably because of all those things, the learnings and teachings you have implemented in your college, so might have played a great role in inviting such colleges to do case studies on you students. So okay, what are the things that you have implemented in your college specifically, for the students, and in the students' point of view, so that has helped the students a great deal, and in a way attracted the other colleges, the big colleges like IIMs, to do a case studies on your students. So any few things that you want to share with us?
Yeah, sure. I mean, just to give you a brief, in brief, cutting long story short, uh, what we realized is that how we and you learn in our life is about 70-80%. That's also supported by research outside the classroom, and we generally learn about 30% inside the classroom. That's how we learn in our life. So if that is true, then if we invest 90% time inside the classroom, 10% outside the classroom, it's a mismatch altogether, and that's where the problem is. So why can't we reverse it, right? So let all the spaces of learning where we can learn, and where possibly the learning can be extended, should be actually capitalized. Say, for example, learning is a 24/7 phenomenon. It cannot be scheduled like 9 to 10 we will learn, and after 10 we'll not learn. We'll shut down our brain. It doesn't happen that way. Learning can happen anywhere, any place, anytime. And therefore, learning can happen in cafeteria, learning can happen in corridors, can happen in green grass lawn, can happen in marketplace. So, we were very conscious about this fact. And what we started doing is that, we started creating a mix of learning. We said the teachers can engage students outside the classroom as well. It's not necessarily that you engage them only in the classroom. So learning has put on wings, and it has actually flown out of the classroom anyway, because technology is so pervasive. The students have access to all the content, and content has already migrated to online. So don't worry about classroom. So think about how you can make your student learn, and where you would like your student to learn. So we have created a very strong blend of formal and informal learning. So what happens today is that one of our professor today was meeting me, and he was telling me that how he experimented this, and it worked very well. He said that, well, there was a class for me, and I asked the student to go anywhere they want, but not in the classroom, right? And they should come back after 30 minutes or 40 minutes in the classroom again to start talking about what we want to talk on this topic. And then he started locating them where they have gone. So most of them, the students were, some of them were found in cafeteria sitting and talking, some of them were found in libraries, some of them were in the lab, and they were all searching for different informations, right? And they came back after 30-40 minutes in the classroom, and then he started talking to them on the topic, right? And look at the kind of learning the students will have after you adopt. So you have a model number one, where the teachers are sitting in the classroom, the professor coming in the classroom, lecturing and going from the class. That's model number one. It has failed terribly, we all know that.
Oh, yes.
Then we have the model number two, where you allow the student to actually choose where they want to learn, allow the student to choose time when they want to learn, and allow the student flexibility of how they want to learn. At the moment you allow all this kind of flexibility, they learn better, because you look at their experiences. Amazing experiences are coming from the students. They feel free, and they feel liberated, and they are more learning more actually. So that's the kind of mix we have created here. We call it formal and informal learning mix. So that is what the IIM Ahmedabad captured.
Okay. Amazing, amazing. That was, I so feel like, I would love to study in such a college. So I missed. So now I so wish I would be a part of your college. So that was an amazing sharing, and that is so important. Like, yeah, traditional kind of education is no more, producing that good results. From the experience we had before. So things like this and innovations like this will help them to study more better. Thank you so much for that. And yeah, just a small 2-minute disturbance here. Okay, so am I clear? Am I clearly audible?
Yeah, you're audible.
Okay, fine. So, okay, you have emphasized a lot on teaching happiness to students. From the blog, I have learned this point that, learn to stay happy and teach your students to be happy. So, you have introduced a lot of courses on these topics as well. So, what is that you want to convey through these courses, and what is that the whole concept of happiness you want to bring in?
Yeah. So yeah, now it's fine. So as far as happiness is concerned, I picked up this whole idea of happiness from Bhutan. Of course, I lived there for about 7 years. I was teaching there. My family stayed with me in Bhutan, and it's almost like a second home for me. So I had this opportunity of understanding the country, understanding people, understanding their culture, understanding their concept of happiness. So it actually gave me a lot of idea, and also it changed my whole perception. My the perception towards the world actually underwent a very big change. Even I'll refer one book by Professor T.S. Paudel. He's the education minister. He was the education minister of Bhutan. He was the first education minister of Bhutan. He was our vice principal when I was teaching in Serapche College in Bhutan. So, and we share very good relationship. So he wrote a book, My Green School, and he outlined the happiness model of the school, and he talked about different happy the Buddhist mandalas. He used the Buddhist mandalas to organize the school, and he talked about the natural greenery. He talked about the social greenery and cultural, intellectual, academic, aesthetics. He gave a very comprehensive view of how an educational institution should organize itself and how it should look like. What are the components that we should keep in the in the educational institution? I learned quite a lot from this book, and I implemented 4 of his mandalas in my campus. So I can tell you that it has produced tremendous result. So I focused on natural mandalas, and then I focused on the aesthetic, and then I focused on intellectual, and I then focused on the moral. So ethical. So these are the 4. And when I started implementing it one by one in my college, it produced quite tremendous result. As far as happiness is concerned, there are there are Western, views of happiness. There's Eastern views of happiness. So we will not go into that. Uh, what I'm doing is basically studying the scientific basis of happiness, and we try to understand how happiness plays out in our individual life. There is also a concept on happiness which is picking up very fast, is called happiness as public policy. The one which is followed in Bhutan is called gross national happiness. So they have actually given up with the planning commission. They're saying GDP is not that important in comparison to gross national happiness. So the progress of the society should be measured on the basis of happiness rather than mere income. And this thought process is actually picking up in many countries of the world. And we know that many countries have started implementing this in one way or the other. If you go to Dubai, you have the Ministry of Happiness. You will see the Ministry of Happiness. They have a Minister of Happiness. Then you have the Brazil. Then you have UK. Then you have Scandinavian countries. A lot of countries who are actually pursuing this. So that's one aspect of happiness research which I'm engaged in. Another is how happiness plays out in our individual life. So the work that we can actually look at is one of my friend has with whom I'm working and publishing. Also, his name is R. Anand. He is advisor to HCL, and he has written a book, Happiness at Work. That is one book which is published from Sage, can be a reference book for anyone who would be interested in this subject. Another book that I can refer on happiness is The Blue Zones of Happiness, is by Dan Buettner. So what Dan did was very interesting work. He looked at the whole globe and tried to earmark the places where people are living for a very, very long time, long years, like, more than 90 years, 100 years of longevity. And some of these he has identified, like one is in Ikaria, Greece, on the basis of which this book was written. And then there are others like Sardinia in Italy, Okinawa in Japan, Loma Linda in California. So these are the blue zones. They call it blue zones, where people live for a longer life, like more than 100 years. They live 110, 120 years. And then he actually looked at their lifestyle and then tried to write this book, what makes a good life, what makes longevity, what are the habits of these people. So this is one very big source of learning. I can also refer, if anybody would be interested in learning about life and happiness, can read Ikigai, the Japanese secret to a long and happy life. So no, the Ikigai is published by Hector Garcia, and there is another author, Miralles. So these two authors have written this book. So no, this is also a very good source of that. So happiness is all about how you look at your body, your mind, your heart, and your soul. So these are the four axes of happiness. So we also offer courses to our students, and 30 hours module we offer to our students. And there is almost a sort of guarantee that if you attain this 30 hours module, that then your happiness will increase almost about 25%. And there is a way to measure happiness as well. So we use a lot of processes, questionnaires, and things like that, instruments to look at what is your current state and how you are going to control your own happiness. So the whole idea is that happiness is not undefinable. That's number one. Number two, happiness can be measured. Number three, happiness can be controlled, and one can enhance happiness in life if you really know what are those factors where your happiness lies. So that's what happiness studies is all about.
Awesome. That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing with us. So, ladies and gentlemen, the happiness is like how Dr. Prabhat have shared, plays a vital role in whatever the be it the individual perspective or the state's perspective. So, yes. Thank you so much for sharing that, and the beautiful books he have quoted. Probably you can go through those books to understand completely, and you can read his blogs, and to get a complete knowledge on that. And please put in your questions in Q&A section. So in a short while from now, we will be taking in your questions. So do not use chat box, use only Q&A section. So start putting up your questions there. Okay, okay, moving on from happiness to education a bit. Do you think our education system is serving the purpose of what it's actually supposed to do? Especially the current education system. So, if you were given a chance, what changes you wish to see happening in the system? Being an educationalist yourself.
Yeah, that's a tall order to talk about. Yeah, of course, our new education policy outlines a lot of things, but my take is very simple. Education has different purposes because without purpose, there is no education. So you need to look at what is the purpose of education. Of course, we lost this purpose on way, so we have to regain those purposes. So classically, if you look at why education is needed for any individual or any society, is because it makes you a better human being. But over time, we realize that education may or may not make you a better human being. And then there was another paradigm which talks about the education makes you slightly more productive in your work. And this also lost its way, and then people started talking about education only for livelihood. So education gets you a job. So the question is that if you combine all these paradigms, because education is supposed to deliver two kinds of values to anybody. One is instrumental value. The instrumental value is that education must give you a degree. So your CV is made. You're called educated. Education should also give you fetch you a good job. So that your livelihood is ensured. Without getting a livelihood out of education, education will remain very halfway through, because it will not fulfill all the purposes. So this is one instrumental value. But education also is supposed to give you intrinsic value. Education has lots of intrinsic value to deliver to you. So when we are talking about intrinsic value of the education, it means it makes you a better citizen, it makes you a better human being, it develops a lifelong learning urge in you, it makes you a better improved person to face the reality of the world, right? It equips you against all these odds, right? So it makes you an informed person, and then you start contributing. So if education is not transformative, if it doesn't change your life, there's no education in my opinion. If education is not enable you to change the life of the people around you, say for example, your family members, your relatives, and if you are not able to change their lives with your education, education is meaningless for me. And if finally, if the education is not enabling you or preparing you to change the society, or you're not able to contribute to the society and to the world to make it a better place, there is no education. So education has to be transformative. If education is not transformative, it only serves the instrumental purposes, right? So education has to change in this way.
Exactly. So that was very well explained, very clear for that matter. The purpose. It's how important that the purpose of education is. It's equally important to have that the empathetic approach towards that. Yeah, like how you said, that's a great, that adds up a great value to that question. Okay, so a quick, a rapid fire, I would say, a quick 1 minute rapid fire. It's all about books, so you can be relaxed a bit. So, okay, so what's your favorite book?
Okay, all right. My favorite big book. Can I call two books? One is White Tiger. I read long back.
Okay.
Anil Adiga. So I like that whole conversation and the style in which it is written, and the kind of problem that it brings forth for all of us to think about is amazing. So I really love that book. And the other one I have recently read is No Rules.
Okay.
It's about the Netflix culture. So these two books I really like.
Okay. Awesome. So your favorite author?
Arvind.
Okay. So the first book you ever read, you remember? The first book.
I don't remember that. The first book I ever read.
Okay, so that one book which always takes the best place of your shelf.
The Tipping Point.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
Malcolm
yes.
Gladwell.
Okay. Awesome. Okay, so the most valuable possession you feel great about?
In terms of book.
Yeah. Anything, anything in your
Oh, I mean, books are the best position that one can have. So I was in a bookstore, and there was an Iranian person. I remember this incident very clearly. There was an Iranian person, and he was looking for a book, and he kept all his belongings on the side, and then he purchased one book, and then he forgot to carry all his stuff, and he went out of the store.
Okay.
And after some time, he realized probably he left everything. So he came back, uh, and he was embarrassed because people were looking at him that he forgot things. Then he made a statement which I still remember, and that is what is I also strongly believe. He said, "Books make you forget other things," and he said it is a good thing that you forget other things when you are lost in books. So books. So if you can write a book in your whole life, you must write a book. And if you read 100 books, I mean, you should read.
Absolutely awesome. That was beautiful. Okay. Yeah. So before we move on to the questions, I would. This is the last question from my side. So okay. So what is that one advice you want to give to the teachers community? One piece of advice or one quote you want to dedicate to them.
Yeah, if I have to use the quote, I'll quote from Ken Ben, and that's very profound and it has its message. It says that, teaching happens when learning takes place. So if learning does not take place, there's no teaching. So as a teacher, you have to be a little conscious about the fact that you're teaching 60, 100 students in your classroom. You're not teaching to the class. So generally, we believe that we're teaching a class. You're not teaching to the bricks and mortars and the bench and desk of your class. You're teaching the human being sitting in the class, and you have to be careful that each one of them actually learn. So that is what the message is.
That was wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Very nice. Okay, so I think we have some questions, and I think, yeah, it's like Tulsi Oja. So she wants to know, since I also read a lot of books, so I often receive this question from people when they read for the first time. So what should they read? Which book? Which author? So what's the right way to answer this? How should I suggest them a good book?
It depends on the interest. It depends on the your choice, but finally you have to pick up the books. So you go to the bookstore. That is the first advice. You must go to the bookstore and try and scan all the books which is there on the shelf, and then try to read at least a little bit of it. Pick up the book, read a little bit about the book, and then determine where you want to settle down. But there are 2 3 ways we pick up book. One is you pick up book because you really love reading. For example, somebody will go for novel, reading a lot of novels, and in the novels also, someone will have the choice in a particular genre, and so they will read that. So that's as per your choice, right? And another is you want to develop some certain things like I picked up a lot of book on leadership because I wanted to I want to understand this subject very well. So I read a lot on leadership. So my choice of leadership books are basically based on the fact that whatever has been said by good authors on leadership, I want to know that because I want to learn more on this subject. So that is another imperative that you can pick up book. Third is if somebody says that this book is good and you should read, you must try that because this person must have read that and he's telling you with his or her experience. So no, we should count on that. So there are many ways you can pick up books, but finally the answer has to come from your side.
Yes. Wonderful. Yes, that is very, very true. Actually, we have different ways, like how Mr. Prabhat have shared. Like we have many different ways to choose the books, and you can ask them. The first question whenever somebody asks you, like, what book should I choose? You ask them, what is your why? So if they could answer the why, perfectly well, so then we can actually suggest them the books, the
Exactly.
pertaining to
Exactly.
their why. Yeah.
Swarna, there is a catch also.
Yeah.
So one of my favorite teacher,
Yeah.
he is also a very avid reader,
Okay.
and he read one book, and I asked him, "What is this book?" I saw this book in his hand. So
Yeah.
he said, "It's a wonderful book. I'm reading." So I didn't ask him much about this book, and I bought this book. I said, "It must be the interesting book." So he is reading. And the book is The Emperor's New Mind by Roger Penrose.
Okay.
And I bought this book something like 4 or 5 years back.
Mm-hmm.
And even today, I'm not able to understand this book very well. It is so difficult to understand because this book is not my cup of tea to understand.
Yeah.
It's about technology. It's about a
True.
computer. It's about internet. It's about things. So, so I mean, there is a catch as well. So you have
Yeah.
to be careful about picking the book.
Absolutely. That is why, knowing why you want to read that book, or, is to know that to know the person is more important to suggest that. Great. Okay. So somebody, I think Soumya wants you to repeat the names of the educational books you have mentioned.
Okay, so the first I said was what the best college teachers do by Ken Bain, Kenbain. So that is one. And then the same author has written another book, What the Best College Students Do. So if you are a teacher, you must read these two books by the same author. So that's two books. And then if you're interested in more, then you can go for Teaching Naked. So that's a very interesting book by Jose Antonio Bound. So, he has explained how if you can move the technology outside your classroom, or if you use technology a lot outside the classroom for your students' learning, then your students' learning will go up like anything. So
Yes.
that's another book you can read. Then you can also lay hand on The Courage to Teach. That's the title of the book, The Courage to Teach by Parker Palmer. So Parker is saying that, uh, uh, we teach who we are. Teaching is no different from your own identity as a teacher. So, if you really want to be a good teacher, you have to actually feed your soul and become a good human being. Then only you can become a good teacher. That's so profound, actually. Uh,
Actually,
uh,
yes.
and I had this opportunity of reading Reframing Academic Leadership because I was doing something at Harvard, and I had this opportunity of attending the class of Lee Bolman, who wrote this book. So I read this book long back, Reframing Academy, and my joy was actually 100 times more when I saw Lee Bolman in the classroom talking about his book. Right. Then if you're a teacher, then you should also read this book, Creating Significant Learning Experience by uh, by D. Fink. And he gave a kind of taxonomy of learning, where he talks about what are the learning that should a teacher impart to the students and what this education is all about. Uh, and it's very different from the earlier taxonomy given by Bloom's. I mean, those who are from the teaching profession will understand these terms. So if you're really a keen teacher, and if you really want to improve your teaching, learning, course designing, make students learn better, this book is a must read.
Yeah.
These are some of the books I can suggest.
Absolutely. So kudos to all the teachers out there, because without which the whole it is difficult to imagine the entire world, the way it's running, because they are the core builders after the parents. So teacher community is the the core of builder of the entire the nation, I would say. So everybody will be so grateful to their teachers at least once in their lifetime, after they have achieved what they have achieved. So thank you so much. And yeah, cool. And like I said, so with this question, I'll be closing the session. So finally, what did you like about the pickable concept, and how far do you think reading books goes in sync with the work you're doing for your college?
Very important because no, you're not just kind of organizing an event, but you are actually changing the lives. So that's what I believe, because uh, uh, the students and the participants, they must be encouraged to see the books and touch the books and read the books. It's a cause, actually. It's not just an event. So that's very important. And I believe that if everybody on this earth becomes a good reader, the world will change automatically. So we don't have to do many things. All you have to do is to make our people read few interesting and good books. So it's
Exactly.
very, very, very important, and you're doing a great job. Pick a book is doing a great job.
Thank you so much. Thank you. On that wonderful note, I take this, opportunity to thank everyone who is joining us in the room. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is a beautiful conversation that happened with Dr. Prabhat Pankaj. He's the director for, the Institute of Management in Jaipur. Jaipura Institute of Management, basically. So that's a whole lot of information and a lot of learnings we have got from this session. So I wish you all from the Pick a Book family, and we encourage you all to read books. Like how we said, Pick a Book is a platform not only just to for you to interact with the like-minded people. It also, like how we were talking before, you need to get exposed to a lot of the books. So you being yourself, you will know only very few books. Like how when we interacted with Dr. Pankaj, so I have heard a lot many books which I haven't heard before, because he's from a different spectrum altogether, and he gave me a lot of books which made me think that yeah, maybe I should pick these books. So that's the best thing that Pick a Book can do to anybody. So it gives you the whole lot of the list of books that will actually help you to the state of mind, or the phase of life you are in, that can change your life in a big way. So yes, kudos to all that's happening in Pick a Book, and the great people like with Dr. Pankaj, who is sharing with us their wonderful successful journey and their experiences and their implementations in their life. So thank you so much for such a wonderful session, Mr. Pankaj. We are grateful to you.
Thank you, Swarna, and thank you, everyone.
Thank you. So, ladies and gentlemen, that's it from us today. And thank you for sparing your wonderful time with us and being with us on the screen, and who are watching us live. So we're all thankful to you, and we're hoping to see you with yet another great session with yet another great personality in next Why I Read session. So until then, take care. Bye-bye. See you all.